This is absolutely great. So we're so happy to be here. So let's start with a short little prayer, and then we can chat. Yeah. All right. So let's pray. Almighty God and everlasting Father, thank you for this opportunity to be gathered in your name today, in the same place, in the same language, to hear about this good news of Jesus. So grant us your faith, or your grace, that would strengthen our faith in you and our love for one another. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Okay. All right. So, as I was saying to a couple other people here, this is weird. It's weird being here, not in a bad way at all, right? But it's very weird. So I'll give you a little bit of an update. Then I have some slides we'll go through, and then there'll be a little bit of time for questions. For the last several months, we have been traveling all over the U.S. So the plan as of now is we will we'll be flying to the Dominican Republic on June 18th. So just over a month is when we'll head over there. The only thing we're waiting on are the visas. So we've applied for them. They've been received. We have the right paperwork. Yay. And it just says we'll get to it when we get to it. So bureaucracy is the same regardless of the country, right? So we're waiting on our visas. That's the last thing. We need a health certificate for our dog as well. That's a special thing that certain vets have to be authorized to do for international travel. So, but that'll be right before we leave, because that certificate's only good for about 10 days. So that's kind of the big stuff. There's a whole bunch of little things to do. But for these last 6 months, we've been traveling around. We have been in we're in St. Louis, Iowa, all throughout Southern California, Southern Illinois, Wisconsin. So I went back to my fieldwork church. That was in Southern Illinois. So that's where I went to church when I was in seminary. So that was kind of fun. I've been there almost 20 years. Highland. Yeah, Old Lutheran Church in Highland, Illinois. So that was fun. Again, it's only been 20 years since I've been there. So that was something. I was in Wisconsin for 2 weeks. Went to 4 churches, 3 schools in those 2 weeks. Then we were in Springfield, Missouri, at a church there that was doing a mission festival. Then we went over to Topeka, Kansas. Visited a church in Topeka, as well as we have some family, Processor family here. So since January, I've been in Southern California, Bakersfield, for maybe 3 weeks. The weirdest thing was one of those was during Holy Week. So this was the first time during Holy Week not doing services and preaching. Even during COVID, right? We were still recording stuff, devotions. So I got to actually sit in the pews on Palm Sunday and Good Friday and Easter. Wow. And on one hand, that was great to be with my family. On the other hand, I didn't like it. Yeah. But you know, Easter, the Monday after Easter, I woke up and went, boy, I actually feel good. Oh, it's awesome. So we've been traveling around a ton. This is our last, we're on the last trip, basically, that we have here. So we're here for just a little over a week. So I'll be in Idaho, and then we're going to go over to Oregon for a couple of weeks to visit my family. And it was just going to be a visit for family, and now we have 3 churches. So that's and so we'll be back in California at the end of May, and then in about 2.5 weeks, then we'll hop on a plane from LA to Miami to the Dominican Republic. So that's kind of where what we do. It's mostly just traveling and talking about the work that we're going to be doing and what it's going to be like and that sort of thing. So you guys have heard a lot of that stuff already, but I have more. So I'll share some more info with you guys. So we'll have some time for questions and stuff. So, and some of this stuff, honestly, I didn't really know that much that I'm going to share with you guys until we really got into this whole process. And so the first of all, we like this picture of us. You guys know the family. But even in this, since Christmas time, Ryan and Easton have already changed, right? Ryan's grown. Easton talks all the time.
Bless his heart.
One of the things that really is kind of interesting about this. So again, my call to serve as a missionary now comes through the Office of International Mission for the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. So that means I'm a missionary of the LCMS. You all are part of the LCMS, which means I'm your missionary now, right? Just like I was your pastor, it's a little different now because now you, in a sense, you called me to serve here for a number of years, and now, as part of the Synod, you're part of that same process and that same call, just as somewhere else. So, so that's kind of a fun thing here, and that's the way the LCMS right now is organized. Is we have our national missions and international missions. So, I'm going to be part of this, or I guess already, in a sense, part of this international mission work that the LCMS is doing. Okay, so right now it's divided up into 4 different regions. Okay? 4 different regions. So you see over on the right-hand side, you have Asia in the green. That also includes India now. Just so this map is a little outdated. But Asia is all the way down into Australia, New Zealand. That part. Then you have the blue, which is Eurasia, okay, and the orange is Africa, and then the red is Latin America and the Caribbean. Okay. So these are the 4 areas that the LCMS kind of has divided things up into internationally, or they were. And the way it kind of functions is there's what's called a regional director. He's kind of like the district president for the area. So you have a regional director for each of these areas that oversees the mission work and the activities, so kind of the specific areas in which they live and work. So Latin America and the Caribbean is the region I'm going to, right? And so that's everything south of the border. Basically, everything south of the border. So, that's a fairly large area. All these areas are large, right? But it's a fairly large area in which this is. And there's numerous languages that are spoken, but we have 2 major ones. And you guys know what they are. You can guess, right? Spanish and Portuguese. right? Because of this big one right here, right? It's Portuguese. So Brazil is about the same size as the U.S. Okay, so square mileage wise. So Portuguese is the language they speak. Pretty much everywhere else, the main language is Spanish. But you have a whole bunch of indigenous languages as well that are still spoken. As well as there's little pockets of English throughout. So like Belize speaks English and Spanish. The Cayman Islands is English. Okay? Jamaica is English. Okay? Large parts of Panama are English. Right? You have, may you know what these little islands are down here? Yeah. What language? English, right? What country are they associated with? Great Britain, right? So it's a very multinational region, primarily connected through the language of Spanish or Portuguese. Right? So that's the area that that the kind of big picture area that we'll be at. And yeah.
Are there any similarities between Portuguese and Spanish?
Yeah, they're very close.
They're close.
Yeah, they are close. So you can.
Latin-based.
Yeah, Latin-based. If they could usually, they speak slowly and clearly. They could usually understand each other.
So they don't understand each other, right?
Yeah. So, yes. Okay. So, throughout the region, Latin America, the Caribbean, we have these three big emphases. And this actually started here, and now it's spread throughout all the international work. But the first thing is to spread the gospel, which makes sense. I mean, when I think of a missionary, that's kind of the thing I think of, right? Is to spread the gospel. Which leads to the second thing, though, of planting Lutheran churches. Because Lutheran mission should lead to Lutheran churches. Right? So we don't just want to tell somebody about Jesus, but also to say, now this is where Jesus comes, where the body of Christ comes to gather every week. And this is where you can come and know that Jesus is there for you. Right? Where you can learn more and build that faith and that sort of thing. So where there are no Lutheran churches, we try to start churches. Where there are Lutheran churches, we work with those churches to strengthen them and then to try to start communities as well. Okay? So, and that leads then to the third thing is showing mercy. So, caring not just for the spiritual needs, but also for the bodily needs of God's people. So this is kind of the mission statement, I guess, of the region, is to spread the gospel, to plant Lutheran churches, and to show mercy. So that's what all the work in the ministry is all involved in. Yes, sir?
Do you run into a lot of Catholic churches there?
I'll get there. I'll get there. Yeah. Yeah. So, I will get there. So, here's this area kind of broken down. So, right now, just looking at the map first, the dark blue is where we have partner churches. So that means that those are national church bodies. So the largest concentration of Lutherans in Central and South America are in Brazil and Argentina. Okay? And both of those church bodies were started by the LCMS about 100 years ago. The missionaries from the LCMS. So they have both grown to the size where they are self-sustaining, self-reproducing, which means they have seminaries, they train teachers, pastors, and they send missionaries to other parts of the world as well. So Brazil is very involved in sending missionaries to Africa, because there are still several African countries that speak Portuguese, as well as some areas in India, and even over into the Philippines, in that kind of area. Okay? So Brazil does a lot of that kind of stuff. And so the dark blue, though, are these national church bodies that we're in full pulpit and altar fellowship with, that we work with. So So that's kind of an exciting thing, because as an LCMS missionary then, I'm also a representative of the LCMS to these other Lutheran churches in different countries, where we've already recognized we believe and teach the same things, right? So part of that is strengthening those relationships with Lutheranism around the world. Okay? So the light blue places are where we have currently where we have mission activity, but there are no national Lutheran church bodies. Okay, so you see Peru over there, El Salvador, Panama, the Dominican Republic, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, those kinds of areas. So we have missionaries that are working there. There are Lutheran churches there. There just isn't a national Lutheran church body because they're not self-sustaining yet. Okay. So and then the lightest ones are where there's some future opportunities. In fact, this year or last year, there was a gentleman that graduated from the seminary in the Dominican Republic from Bolivia that is back over there, and so there is some work going on in Bolivia. So as of now, anyway, there's 30 LCMS missionaries serving in 7 countries. Okay, in this region. Yeah.
Is Haiti have a church?
Okay, so yeah.
I was just looking at that.
Yeah, I'll get to, let me get through these numbers real quick, and then I'll talk about Haiti. So, 30 LCMS missionaries in 7 countries. There's 12 alliance missionaries. Alliance missionaries are missionaries from other church bodies in different parts of the world who are basically working with the LCMS and under our direction. But their call comes from their national church body. Okay. So, in the Dominican Republic, for example, it should be at the end of this month, there's an Argentinian pastor and his wife, who's from Nebraska. They have 3 kids. He's been serving in churches outside of Buenos Aires, Argentina, that's going to be going to the Dominican Republic. So the Argentinian church is kind of sitting in there. He's working under the direction and the oversight of the LCMS missionary. Okay. So that's what an alliance missionary is. Okay. And we work throughout the world. There's, it's one of the benefits of having these partner churches, right? Is we can share resources, and that includes personnel sometimes too. So. 30 LCMS missionaries, 12 alliance missionaries, 42 church plants in 13 countries. So that doesn't count the churches that were already existing, but these are specifically new churches or preaching stations that have started through the activities of LCMS or alliance missionary people in the region. Okay. So on this table over here, there's some handouts and things too that have some more information about what's an alliance missionary and that sort of things, and just how the process works. So, zooming in, right? You guys know I'm going to the Dominican Republic, right? So the Dominican Republic, I should put a little pin. So I'll be in Santiago, which is a city right about there. So in the north of the center. Second largest city in the country. About 1 million people that live there. So, Dominican Republic is about maybe 1/3 of the size of Idaho, maybe. I mean, so so from border to border, if you're to drive, it's maybe 5 hours. So maybe just take southern Idaho, right? All the way across. That's about the size of it. Okay, how many people live in Idaho?
27 million.
Yeah. Okay. So Dominican Republic, there's almost 11 million people. Right. So 1 million in the city of Santiago, a little over 3 million in the capital city of Santiago. So about a third of the population just in those two cities. Another third of the population is on some of the major coastal cities. So tourism is a big thing there. So that's where they're. So the DR is 2/3 of the island. Haiti's the other third. So Haiti does have sort of a Lutheran church body. So it's not as organized as a synod is. So each congregation is completely independent of each other. There's no district president or synod president. But the churches have all said, yeah, we agree with each other and we get along with each other. Right? There's no structure above that. It's just the local congregation. So in a large part, that the Haitian Lutheran Church was begun by the efforts of the LCMS too. So as you guys know, and have probably heard, Haiti's a complete disaster. Complete disaster. So when we went there in September, they closed the border at that time, and things have gotten worse since then. We don't have much to do with the Haitian Lutheran Church, even under good circumstances. So there's not a lot of interaction there. The Dominicans and the Haitians have been fighting each other forever, since they're Europeans like it. Dominican Republic is Spanish background, Haiti is French. And after they each gained independence from Spain and France, Haiti had control over the whole country. And it's been about 200 years or so that the Dominican Republic won independence from Haiti. And the Dominican Republic is very much is the fertile side of the island. Much more developed in a lot of ways. It has the fastest growing economy in the Caribbean and one of the highest standards of living in the Caribbean and Central America. Haiti has one of the worst in the world. The world. Yeah. And it's Haiti's pretty much run by the gangs right now. The Dominican Republic has 4 or 5 garrisons, Army garrisons stationed at the border, and they've been rounding up Haitians, legal or illegal, and deporting them right now. So there are Lutheran churches in the Dominican Republic that have had family members deported because of the circumstance that's there. The border is still closed. There is a wall or a fence, much little thing. So we don't have much interaction, and where we are is one of the safest places in the island when it comes to taking that kind of stuff. So here's a picture of their flag. So you're going to learn lots of interesting facts. So we got red, white, and blue. You have a symbol in the middle. So here's their symbol. Right? So that's the first thing, right? The cross. This is one of only 28 countries in the world that have overtly Christian symbolism on the flag. Yep. So you have God, patria would be fatherland. Oh, country. So God, country, liberty, freedom is up at the top. Okay? So you got the Bible, or you got the cross, you have the Bible, right? The Bible's open. You can't see it here, but it's open up to John 8. Jesus said to those who believed in him, if you abide in my word, you are truly my disciples, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So, it's the only national flag in the world that has an open Bible on it. You got palm branches on one side, right? And what do you think that is? So, we have peace, palm branches are celebration, victory, joy, right? Same thing that we use them for, that sort of thing. So what does this tell you, though, about the Dominican Republic, about what's important to them? Faith, right?
Yeah.
Very early on, I mean, these countries were founded with Christian ideals, right? And much like ours, though, things have changed. Right? So currently, though, there's still about 80% of the population still says that they're Christian. 60%-ish are Roman Catholic. 20% are Protestants of various kinds. But it is very much a culturally Catholic country. Okay, very much a culturally Catholic country. At the same time, normal attendance in the church is extremely low. So while it's culturally Catholic, hardly anybody goes to church. And there's times that the only time people go to church are for baptisms, weddings, funerals, those sorts of things. Right? So it's a pretty sad state that that you have this country founded on these Christian ideals, and at least on paper it's still there, and on the flag it's still there. And there is a very, very high respect for Christianity. Very high respect. And much better than the others. So, let me tell you some stories. I don't know if I had those ones yet. Well, you guys know what that is. That's all the house blessing stuff. So I usually tell people, why did I get chosen? So I just play the house blessings, my doctoral work, and how that fits in. But, we'll just go back to that. So, it's the Dominican Republic, or this island is called Hispaniola. It's one of the places where Christopher Columbus landed, or on his first trip. So he didn't land there first, but he did visit there. And in his journals, you still have his journals. Right? In his journals, he said that he wants to return so that he could spread the gospel to people that didn't know about Jesus. Right? And in essence, that has happened. And yet, again, a lot of these people, they just forgot. Right? So that provides a lot of opportunities for us to come in. So there is kind of a basic foundation. And again, very high respect for the church. But nobody knows that their faith is very, very shallow. There's very limited knowledge of anything. There's a lot, because it's also heavily Roman Catholic, there's a lot of that mix, like of saints and Mary and that sort of thing, that sometimes gets mixed in with some of the African, there's a lot of African ethnicity, African spirituality as well as ancestor worship. So that kind of stuff fits really well together, unfortunately. So that's syncretism is what that's called, right? So some of that happens.
Is the government supportive of Christianity?
The government is, yeah.
The way it does its laws?
The government is, so.
Okay, that's a good deal.
So here's a fun little thing. So one of the Lutheran churches in town called Lise had a school, Lutheran day school. And COVID kind of ended the school. They couldn't maintain it. So after COVID happened, his school, the public schools came and said, we need space, can we rent out your school space? And they said yes. So there's about 120 kids at this school that's on the same property as this church. And they have a class that is taught in the schools on values and morals and ethics. And so the pastor teaches that class. And the main book that he uses to teach that class is Luther's Small Catechism. Every week they have chapel. So on Wednesday mornings they do matins from their hymnal. And that's the public school. So they're very welcoming to Christianity. They oftentimes they'll get the Roman Catholics will come in and teach those classes, and so Lutheranism tries to get a foothold in wherever we can too. And again, they're very, very welcoming and very respectful of it. So I mean, you guys know I usually wear one anyway. When I get down there, they say you're pretty much going to be wearing one all the time. And for several reasons. One, it's an evangelism opportunity, which it is here too. That's why I like wearing them to the hospitals, that kind of stuff. is I get random people just coming up and talking, can you pray for me, and that kind of stuff, right? But then I'd leave the hospital here and I go to the grocery store and I pull this off, right? They're like, no, keep that on for several reasons, right? Evangelism opportunities, respect, the government, let's just say the government is not as trustworthy as it is here. Okay? Take that however you will. But they're like, you know, if you get pulled over for a speeding ticket, bribes are common. I mean, bribes are common pretty much everywhere in the world, except for certain places like the U.S. But this kind of thing helps with that, as well as it's a little bit of protection, right? Pickpockets and that sort of thing. You don't usually go after them. Right? So, but there's a very high level of respect for the church and for pastors.
That's because they know that clergy doesn't have any money.
So, all right, so we'll skip that one. So, again, what am I going to be doing? Again, we talked some about this, guys, stuff, so you guys know. So, theological education. My job is basically two different things. Theological education, so I'm going to be teaching at the seminary that's there. They still haven't told me what I'm teaching, which makes me really nervous. The seminary here, again, the top floor is the seminary. The bottom floor is a Lutheran school through 3rd grade. Middle floor is where the chapel is, and there's some classrooms there as well. Santiago is in the background. This is in a little town outside of the city called Palmar. And the main thing they do is they prepare men to be evangelists, shepherds, and teachers, right? To share the gospel, to be pastors, and teach the word of God. So that's the big thing. So, and that's the front of the building. There's the bottom floor. So that's the school, looking all the way up to the top. Just to give you an idea of what that looks like on the inside. So here's the outside of it. It's the only paved and painted basketball court in town. This town's only about 1,500 people. This also gets used as an evangelism tool. It can be opened up for the community during certain times, right? Under one condition, that if you come and play there, you get to hear about Jesus. Right? So here's the school. This meeting, they start every day singing the national anthem. Their national anthem, raise their flag. Right? And then they say the Lord's Prayer. So that's how they start school every day. So that's what their school is. Okay? There's a picture of their chapel. So this is where the seminary chapel meets. So there's daily chapel services at the seminary, and then a congregation that meets here on Sunday morning too. So these daily chapel services are also on Facebook. So give me about 6 months. And you guys, if you want to follow along, you'll see me leading their chapel services and preaching in Spanish. So, yeah.
What time will it be?
Yeah, they're on Eastern time zone, actually. They're on Eastern time zone. Yeah. So, but they don't do daylight savings time. So, let's keep that. Right. So, these are for this year, this coming year, these are the goals of the seminary. Residential pastoral formation, so just like ours, right? People come from all over Latin America to be trained there. They have an online pastor formation as well. Not everybody can come, so they have online classes that they do. They have a deaconess formation. We'll talk about that a little bit as well. A pre-seminary program. And so the degree that is offered here is a bachelor's degree. So in the U.S., the seminaries have a master's. There it's a bachelor's. It's only, the seminary is only 7 years old. And going through the accreditation process. So you have to have certain levels of accreditation to offer certain degrees. Right? So they're working on building up to full accreditation. Right now it's a bachelor's degree. The curriculum's modeled after what ours do, primarily what the Fort Wayne Seminary here does. So it's the same curriculum, lesser degree. And really the only reason that matters all that much is if people want to continue on and get further degrees. So if you want to get a PhD, right, you really need a master's degree to go on to ideally. So they're working on that. So, and then this fall, they're trying to start a Lutheran teaching as well. So there aren't really Concordia universities in Latin America. I think there's one in Brazil. But you don't really have it in Latin America as well. So there's no way to train Lutheran teachers. So they want to try to start doing that. So over the last 7 years, there's been 30 graduates from 9 different countries. 19 from the residential program, 11 from the distance program. You can see where the different countries are. So it's a very multinational, multi-ethnic seminary. These are the graduates from last year. So you can see, I mean, you get older guys and there's younger guys as well. And you can see the different countries where they're from. The tall guy in the middle is from Venezuela. He was supposed to go to Spain. He had some hiccup. I don't know if he's made it there yet. But that's where he was supposed to go. The building up there at the top, you guys can see up at the top, that's the dorms, the single student dorms. They're standing on the roof of the seminary right here. So looking up the hill, the seminary owns about 7 acres. Most of it looks like this, right? Just trees. They call the student dorm up there Golgotha. Part of the cross they have to bear is walking up the hill. So, kind of neat. I had no idea about any of this. So one of the churches I visited in Wisconsin was in a town called Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. And it was people from Oconomowoc, mission teams, that built that. So, kind of a neat story. Yeah. So, deaconesses are the other big thing. So 30 men graduated as pastors in the last 7 years, 99 deaconesses.
Wow.
5 countries. That's more deaconesses than both of our seminaries in the U.S. combined.
Really?
So you see the different countries that they're from. It's a 3-year program. And most of them do not get paid. It's not a paying position. And they do it because they want to serve the Lord and they love the people. Some of these are the pastors' wives that do this, and some are just women just from the community that want some training and education in how do we care for people, but do that in a Christian way. So 99. That's pretty amazing. Continuing education is, just like here, continuing education is something that they've really tried to emphasize. This guy here is an Argentinian pastor who's the head of that. It's called Luther Academy, so they put on conferences and seminars every year throughout Latin America, all different countries and places. Professors from the seminary do that, so there'll be potential, not at first, but in a couple of years, to travel around Latin America to do a 1-week conference on whatever. They often partner with the Concordia universities and the 2 seminaries in the U.S. and have pastors come down and professors come down to teach classes as well. So that's something that they continue to do and really emphasize is once seminary training is done, you're not done learning. So one of the other exciting things that they do is called the VDMA project. Books are hard to get. I can't ship any of my books down there. So I can't. It doesn't work very well to ship. There's no postal service. Plus, books are heavy, they're expensive, and they're hard, especially when you get closer to the equator you get, humidity doesn't do well. Right? So they do online things. Okay, so they 45 books now through this, 21 scattered throughout 21 countries. There's 388 active accounts. So that means there's 388 people that have access to these theological resources in Spanish that you can access on your phone or your computer. $600 book value, 24 translators, all Latinos. So this also shows, while the LCMS mission work started this, this is not an American endeavor. This is a multinational effort to try to get pastors and deaconesses resources in their language so that they continue to share the gospel in churches and show mercy. So that's a pretty amazing thing. So, and really, kind of going back to this too, in the seminary, this is one of the exciting things for me. So this seminary is on track to be the largest Lutheran seminary in Latin America, larger than Brazil and Argentina. And this seminary has the potential to shape Lutheranism in the Spanish-speaking world. That's pretty amazing. And so there's a lot of good things and exciting things. So, and what was told to me anyway, how my job will look, in the morning I'd be teaching seminarians at the seminary, in the classroom. And in the afternoons, doing this, church planting. And basically modeling, this is what it looks like now to be a pastor. Okay? So there's no vicarage like what we have. That's kind of wrapped up into their education, so they learn as they go. So it's kind of like our fieldwork experience, but on steroids. So teach in the classroom in the morning, show them how do you do this in the afternoon. What do you think are the main tools, the main resources that are used to do that? You got the Bible, and you have the hymnal. Right? This Bible is down here, these words, says it's in English, a special edition with Luther's Small Catechism and explanation. Okay? So the main tools and resources that are used are the Bible, the Catechism, and the hymnal. This is one of the things that really drew me to this as well. Before I knew this, the people down there said, what would you need, what resources would you need to be successful or feel successful in what you're doing? I said, I need the Bible, I need a catechism, and I need a hymnal. And they said, boy, we got a deal for you.
I got it already set up.
Yeah, right? And the reason why this is so important is this is the same stuff that goes on here. It's the exact same stuff.
I'm stiff.
So being a church planter is just being a pastor, And that's something that I want to do. I just want to be a pastor. So the teaching stuff is exciting too on top of that. That's like icing on cake. So little lesser known fact, the Bible, the first, kind of the King James Version of the Bible in Spanish is called the Reina Valera. This guy Valera was Lutheran. So he translated the Bible after he heard about Luther, shortly after the Reformation started. He was in Spain. And heard about this, loved it, became Lutheran, translated the Bible into Spanish shortly after Luther translated it into German. Luther had some protection. This guy didn't. So he got killed for it. The Spanish Inquisition came up and stomped out Lutheranism for over 400 years. And in 2000, Lutheranism started up again in Spain. One family, one Lutheran family that had immigrated there knew somebody in Argentina. And Argentina sent a missionary over there to serve them for about 10 years, and then the LCMS took it over. So that's kind of exciting. I showed you guys when I was here last, I showed you the hymnal as well. So that's something that I'm still learning. It's modeled after our hymnal as well, but it's not the same. So what we did for the opening, that they actually have those, and that's the same. But there's some pretty major differences in this as well.
Well, some of our hymns are in have a Spanish version.
Yep.
Do they have an English version of theirs?
No. No. Yeah. Okay, there we go. So here's a little bit. So 276 are from an older hymnal called Hymns Culto Cristiano, which came out right after the Lutheran hymnal in the 40s came out. That's kind of the Spanish version. 55 are from Cantata al Señor, which came out in the 80s. After Lutheran worship came out here. 208 hymns are in common with Lutheran service. 280. There's 670 altogether. That's more than ours. Bigger than ours. It's heavier. There's 161 previously unpublished in Spanish hymns. 228 contemporary hymns. Contemporary means not contemporary music. It means written in the last 20 years. And all of Luther's hymns are included. We don't have all of Luther's hymns. And 15 hymns by Paul Gerhardt are in there. We only have 7. Paul Gerhardt is probably the most famous Lutheran hymn writer. So, very, very Lutheran hymnal, but also very Latino hymnal. Last summer, the LCMS adopted this hymnal as our official Spanish language hymnal too. So, but this is a production of the Lutheran Church in Argentina and in Chile, in connection with the Lutheran Heritage Foundation as well, which is an organization of the LCMS. So it's a pretty exciting hymnal, and I'm taking Spanish classes right now. And my Spanish teacher and I spent a lot of time in the hymnal because she said it's going to be one of the things you use. So you should probably understand the vocabulary of the prayers, and the psalms, and the creed, and the Lord's Prayer, and all that stuff right now. So here's just some pictures. That's the church that meets at the seminary building. That's a typical Sunday morning. There's another church in the heart of Santiago. Here's one of the graduates from a few years ago. He married an American deaconess. He's Venezuelan, then moved to Chile, that then went over to the Dominican Republic to become a pastor, and now he's going to go back to Chile shortly after we arrive. And notice what he has. So he's on the front porch of some people's house, and he has that Bible.
Pastor,
Yeah.
do they have any kind of translation issues with some of the Mayan dialects that they still have? Because there's like a population of 400,000.
Yeah. So, for the very one of the seminarians currently is from Ecuador, maybe, right next door. But his native language is Quechua, which is one of those dialects, native dialects. It's hardly spoken. But they just translated the Catechism for the first time in Quechua. And when he got to the seminary, it was the first time he got his hands on a Bible in Quechua. So he knows Spanish as well, but to be able to read it in the language that you grew up speaking in your home is a different thing. So there's work. The LCMS has done a lot of work through Lutheran Bible translators. Wycliffe translators do a lot of that kind of stuff too. So there's some of that. But all the work here in the Dominican Republic is all in Spanish, just because that's kind of the common language. So here's the church service. Tell me if you guys can guess You can see if I can start here. Guess which church service? I don't have music. Hey, it's Palm Sunday. Yeah. They don't have to order the palm branches like we do. They just go to the back doors. Right? See kids carrying guitars, singing as they go. They're singing Hosanna, loud Hosanna, is what they're singing. So they started outside in the front of the church and they walked around the block, a couple blocks, and then made their way into the church building and started their Palm Sunday service. So one of the things too about the seminary does this, as well as the churches, most of the churches don't have the resources or the space for organ. Some do in some of the other countries. But a requirement at the seminary is the seminarians have to learn either piano or guitar. So it's a required class. The guitar is actually taught by a young man. Let's see if I can see it. That guy right there. Yeah, he's 13. So he teaches guitar to the seminarians. Because those guitar and piano, they're portable. Guitar takes no electricity, right? Piano does, but doesn't have to. So there's a lot of the churches that have keyboards, just electric keyboards that they would use.
Pastor, I have to ask, just above the parishioners walking, is that typical power distribution?
Yes, so that's the scary part.
Yeah.
So yeah, their power is regularly goes off. So everybody has generators connected to their homes. There's power flickers on and off all the time. Because that's, yeah. My brother-in-law is a lineman for California Edison, Southern California. And he has a heart attack. So, there we go. So a couple other slides and some questions. Mercy work is a big aspect, right? So here's a deaconess caring for a young woman that lives in one of basically an orphanage that we operate down there. The Dominican Republic is the head of it's the headquarters for all of the work in Latin America. It's there, which is also why the seminary is there. So it's also the Center for Regional Disaster Response, so occasionally a hurricane comes through, right? So this island always has a thing out, and as well as others in the Caribbean. This is where, again, it's the center of the translation efforts, providing materials, workshops, resources to help people to do mercy work for those women. And then there's a home, basically an orphanage that is right next to the seminary that the mission operates. You can see gold up there.
I love the color.
Yeah, everything's bright. I mean, they like bright colors. Bright colors. So, we'll skip that. You guys kind of know this, but what can you guys do? And this is stuff you guys are already doing in a lot of ways. So first and foremost is just keep Chris and myself and our voice in your prayers. That's the number one most important. Stay informed, so you know what to pray for, right? Yeah, we want to keep up to date. We want you guys to know what we're doing, and we want to know what you guys are doing. So, we have our monthly newsletter that we're sending out. Most of you guys should be getting that. I know the church office does that as well. There's social media stuff all over social media. There's pictures and videos and all kinds of things. So the LCMS Missions in Latin America and the Caribbean is the tag, Facebook and Instagram. Where you get all of this stuff. There's ways to financially support us or specific projects that go on as well. We have I have some cards up here as well that tell a little more about this. You guys may have seen some of this stuff. Here's some little cards with some info on how to connect with some of that. Short-term mission trips, they do all kinds of short-term mission trips. This place has a team from the U.S. there almost every week of the year. That's how busy this is. Almost every week of the year. So, there's education trips. So shadow a missionary, so that people know what this looks like and what how people go about it. There's education trips. Both of our seminaries send groups down every year, sometimes twice a year, so the seminarians can see what this looks like. There's foros. That's what I went to. Was a forum, which is in the spring and fall. It's a forum where you get updates on what the churches and the mission ministries are doing. VBS, so you go down there and help teach VBS to the kids in the schools, or to the churches, or even to the missionary kids. So you get one in English to the missionaries. Building projects, there's medical mercy teams. They even do things for language learning. So if somebody wants to know Spanish, you come down for a couple of weeks. And they say, we're going to just throw you into some of the mission work and you can practice your Spanish. Right? So, and then there's different missionary. There's geo-missionary, which is a short term, 18 months to 2 years. And there's a career missionary, which is what I'm doing, which is a call, it's open. So, all right. Got just a few minutes. Questions?
I have a question. How is Spanish coming along for you?
Slowly. So yeah, we have all Ryan, Chris, and I all have different Spanish teachers. We have Zoom Spanish lessons 7 times a week.
Ryan's
But
probably doing best.
It's hard with traveling.
Yeah.
It makes it very hard.
Do Baptists and Methodists and Episcopalians and Presbyterians, etc., send out missionaries like
Some.
LCMS does?
Yeah, well, yes. But the more liberal churches don't do that near as much. Because, what's the point? If you could believe in whatever you want and go to heaven, there's no reason to send a missionary to tell you about Jesus. Right? So there is some of that. There is a Mormon influence. That was also something they liked about myself, is that being here, right? You get to know the Mormons. So they said there is a Mormon influence down there. Aaron Virgin, before he was married, before he was Lutheran, he grew up Mormon, and he did 1 year of his mission in the Dominican. So, so that was an appeal as well. Is that I know the false gospel, right? But there are other Protestants. 20% of the population considers themselves Protestant of some sort. The biggest are Pentecostals. Yep. So, yep. Okay, anything else? Okay, so overall, Chris and the boys and myself, we're doing well. Travel is hard. It's hard on all of us in different ways. It's exhausting traveling around that much. Easton probably does the best, but he gets sick when he travels. Last week he was in the ER. We were supposed to fly home from Kansas on Saturday morning, and he was in the ER all day, all night, Friday night, so we missed our flight. Had to juggle all that. He's better. He's fine now. Yeah, traveling's hard. So that's something to pray for, please. Is that. And then, again, we're on our last round from here to Oregon, and then back to California before we fly out on June 18th. So, while we're here, just so you guys know a little bit of my schedule, Wednesday I'm going to be in Twin Falls all day. The school in Twin and in Clover, we're going to do a joint chapel. So we'll do that. Twin Falls is going to host a special mission festival service for the circuit over there. So I'll be preaching Wednesday night at Emmanuel in Twin Falls. Thursday, I'm preaching in Emmett at an Ascension service. Sunday, I'll be a Good Shepherd in Boise. And probably this Friday, I'll be at the school, in our school, chapel as well. So that's kind of our hectic schedule. That's what every week looks like. It's usually 3 or 4 speaking engagements per week.
No wonder you're
Yeah. So, yeah. All right, anything else? All right, well, this has been great. Yeah, thank you guys for being here. So we'll be, I mean, you guys know, we have a potluck, right? So we'll be around, and we'll be around some this week too. And hopefully we'll be able to visit with some other people as well. So why don't we say a closing prayer? We can head on it. Almighty God and everlasting Father, we thank you once more for gathering us here and for gathering your church scattered throughout the world, and that the same gospel and this good news of Jesus might go out to different cultures, different languages, so that all might be able to call upon his name and believe in him and be saved. So grant us your grace and blessing now this morning as we receive your gifts, and help us create in us a desire as we are sent out of this place to serve one another and our neighbors in Christian life. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Exactly. Exactly.